everyone, and welcome to the very first Amateur Driving Band League Championship Series. This series is going to feature the Audi TT Cup car, a relatively fast front-wheel drive race car that I have found in my few laps driving it to be a lot of fun, but also very manageable for the beginner. In each round there's going to be 10 minutes of practice, followed by 10 minutes of qualifying. We do have cut penalties on, and a drive-through if there is a jump start. But to be honest, if there is a jump start, I will probably just restart the race. Most of the points are going to go towards the podium winners, but the top 50% of all drivers will generate points towards the championship, which does place a premium on finishing in the upper tier of drivers each race. There will be 8 rounds in the championship, mostly short courses, starting with Highlands Short, then Magione, Ibizu, Red Bull Ring National, which is a cut-off version of the Red Bull Ring, Vallelunga Club, VIR North Course, Modena Fast, which takes out one of the loops, and a bit of a medium course, Mid-Ohio with Chicane, which is going to be a 6-lap race, just for a little bit of variety at the end. You'll notice that the weather and the track surface for all rounds is the same, and this is because I have not raced this car very much, and so the only challenge I really want from round to round is the challenge of learning a new track, learning the braking points and that sort of thing, and then having a good race with the AI. So I don't also want to contend with changing weather conditions and track surfaces from round to round. There are a total of 14 Audis in the championship. No handicaps assigned to anybody at this time. Without further ado, let's jump into the realism and AI settings before we start the first race. Okay, so I am in the start screen of the championship, and here we can see the realism and AI settings laid out for you guys. You'll notice I do have automatic throttle blip turned on and automatic clutch. The main reason for the clutch is because I am using a Thrustmaster T150 wheel, which is a pretty good beginner wheel, but it does not come with a shifter or a clutch. The automatic throttle blip does not matter because the Audi TT has an electronic kicker, and so it will actually blip the throttle for you. I do have traction control and ABS set on factory settings, and I have a tiny bit of stability control turned on. And the reason for that is, like I mentioned, I have not driven this car much, and so I do not want to have to spend the entire 10 minutes of practice just trying to get around the track safely. So a little bit of stability control to keep the car pointed in the right direction, but not so much that it's going to hinder my ability to drive, nor will it be too large of a crutch for me to lean on. Now, as the championship continues and I get more familiar with the car, I think I'm probably going to end up turning stability control off completely, but for the first round or two, I think it's going to be helpful. The rest of the settings are as realistic as I can make them, and I do have the tire blankets turned on, and this is just so the starts aren't quite as chaotic as they would be if everybody was starting on cold tires. Over on the right, we see that the AI is set on 95% strength and 60% aggression, with a slight bit of variation in between. And that's just so I can fine-tune my AI experience. I don't want a large variation, which would give me really easy cars to race against, and also really hard cars to race against. I know my own skill level fairly well, and I feel like at 95%, I am pretty even with the AI, so the variation is just going to give me a little bit of a push towards some of the faster guys to increase my skill level. So I'm going to go ahead and get the practice and the qualification out of the way, and I'll meet you guys back here for the race. This is it, round 1 of the Audi TT Championship. It's going to be 8 laps around Highlands Short, starting from pole position. I was only a couple of tenths up on second place through qualification, so this should work out to be a challenging race. The start is going to be critical as the AI can be quite aggressive in the first couple of turns. it is probably the weakest part of the Assetto Corsa AI in my opinion. So we're just going to try to get a good start here and maintain first throughout the whole race if we can. I have not made any setup changes to the car other than putting in a correct fuel load. So see how this goes. Trashing the AI for being bad at starts, I am going to have to admit that I am also bad at starts. So I'm just going to punch it. Well, that actually wasn't too bad. That's probably my best start ever here on Highlands Short. Maintain the lead, so I am happy with that. I definitely race much better in the front. I feel like I push less, you know, don't overdrive the car as much. And so if we can stay in the lead, I think that'll greatly increase our chances of being in first when we cross the finish line. So the things I'm going to be focusing on here is just really hitting my apex as well. I find that that's a weak point in my driving style, is that I miss apexes frequently, normally too wide, and because I can't get a good braking line or a good racing line in, like right here, way too deep in that corner, which is okay to do every once in a while, but not okay as a habit. You can see how much time second place gained on me there. So hitting those apexes is critical for maintaining your speed, because the wider you are, the more you have to slow down to go into that corner. The less speed you carry, the longer it's going to take you to accelerate to the next corner. So I feel like every beginner racer can really benefit by just concentrating on hitting those apexes as best they can. Now I am not doing a very good job here. Just not racing smoothly. And it's not because I'm worried about the guy behind me. I'm just not focused. So you definitely have to focus as you're racing. That's why it's, you know, an 8-lap race is a lot easier to focus for than something like a 20 or 30 lap race. Focusing on those braking points, those apexes, is a lot easier for only 8 laps. So you can see around that last turn we really gap back to second place. They are not keeping up, and in fact in qualification, that in most sectors we were dead even as far as time, but in that last sector I'm gaining 3 or 4 tenths, and I know it's that last corner. So I'm going to continue to take advantage of that, staying in front here. You know, you can see in the bottom right I've got a sidekick gap installed, so we'll tell you how I'm doing lap to lap, whether I'm up. And I'm actually running a pretty good lap right now. Put it down there because it is kind of distracting and I don't want to be looking at it all the time, but that was a pretty good lap right there, 49. Better than my qualifying time. So very happy with that. And that's the way it goes, you know. I probably put in 20-ish laps or so between practice and qualifying, maybe slightly less than that. And 20 laps just isn't enough to fully, at least for me, it's not enough to fully gain an understanding of every braking point, every apex, that sort of thing. It takes time to really nail all those things down. And what it's about is it's about consistency. So I had a really great lap followed by a really terrible lap. So, you know, the best racers, they're going to be within tenths of themselves every lap. You know, not counting things like tire wear and fuel and that sort of thing. So they're very consistent, and that's what wins races. You know, I might have one lap where I'm way better than everybody else. But if every other lap I'm worse, I'm not going to win. I mean, it's very simple. So, consistency is key. Maintaining focus is key. Hitting every apex, every braking point is key. And something else, now, you know, talking about braking points, something else I think is very helpful is when I first started driving racing games, I tended to try to do everything by feel. So I'd come down the straight and I'd go, you know, it feels like I should start braking right here. And I would brake there, and that would be right or wrong. Next lap I would remember, and oh, it feels like, you know, I needed to brake earlier. So this feels like earlier to me, you know, and so I would brake earlier, I would think. And either it would be better or it would be worse or the same, whatever. But eventually I realized is talking about consistency, that's just not consistent. You're not going to be able to feel a consistent braking spot just by looking at just by, you know, gauging how fast you're going and that sort of thing. So the key is going to be find braking spots on the track that you can use to say, this is when I'm going to start braking. And you only modify those when you realize that, you know, hey, I'm doing much better, I'm much faster this lap, so I'm probably going to need to adjust my braking point back a little, or vice versa. You know, this has not been a great lap for me, so I'm going to need to increase my, I'm going to need to brake less. So you got to find braking spots is my point, and right there, that's my braking spot for this corner. And so I don't have to worry about where to brake. Now all I have to worry about is being consistent with the braking. So pretty easy race there. Is actually over really quickly, won by 8/10, and really pleased with that. So thank you guys for joining me in the first round of the Amateur Racing Badly series. Pleased to come away with a victory. You can see that the gap between racers is only 15 seconds between first and 15th. So I feel very good about where the AI is at and about their variability and that sort of thing. So I'll probably maintain that for now, and if I continue to win every single race, I will definitely turn up the AI. So the next round of the championship is going to be 8 laps around Magione, probably my favorite track out of the base track set that shipped with the Assetto Corsa. I hope you'll join me then. Leave a like and a comment, and I'll see you next time.